Hello fellow gamers, how the devil are we? So recently PC Gamer put out a bit of an article and basically jabbed at Back 4 Blood, and I thought to myself, it's been a long time since Left 4 Dead 2 came out and we haven't seen a Left 4 Dead 3, and I thought let's give this one a bit of a chance, and what better way to do that is to spill all the details on all the features and let you guys make up your own minds. So basically, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to blab on for about 15 minutes talking about the various things that I can find out about this game. We're going to look at the features, the maps, whatever modes I can dig out and give to you, and then you let me know if you're excited for this or not. Deal? Done? Okay, let's rock and roll. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. You want to know when it comes out? Originally it started off in June the 22nd of 2021. However, there was an update saying that this is now being pushed back. It is now expected to arrive at October the 12th, 2021. If, however, you want to get involved with the game before that, then they are running an open beta on August the 12th, and that will run all the way through to August the 16th. And as a side note, if you want to get the beta a week earlier, then you can pre-order the game, which will give you access from the 5th to the 9th. So the premise is this: you are a group of survivors and you're surviving in a world where everyone has basically turned into some creatures called the Ridden. And this has been spawned off by basically some sort of parasitic infection, and everyone was wandering around these various different types of evil monster zombie things. So instead of survivors, etc., you are called cleaners. There are 8 in total. These are the following: Evangelo, there's Walker, there's Holly, Hoffman, Mom, Doc, Jim, and Carly. Each cleaner has his own set of personalities and looks and feels similar to Left 4 Dead. There are more of them. I presume more will come as expansions and unlocks and they, expand on the game, come out. But the most important thing in terms of gameplay is that each one of these cleaners comes with different traits. So these are the following traits that you'll be able to get on each different character. There is a huge amount of information I'm going to be portraying here, guys, so I'm not going to give you too much in terms of like what works well with others, because I don't really have a clue at the moment. You can make up your own guesses and let me know in the comments below. But let's start off in the same order. So let's start off with our first cleaner, and that is Evangelo. So he's got a plus to break out of grabs, he's got increased stamina regen, and also increases team movement speed. Next up we have Walker, who is kind of like more of a arm to the teeth, I'm responsible for doing all the DPS kind of guy. His 3 traits are that his precision kills basically give him increased accuracy, he has additional damage, and also gives the team extra health. So it looks like there are sort of tanky based characters. Holly is the next one. So she has 3 traits. So she recovers stamina when she kills people. She has stamina resistance and also gives the team additional stamina. So, we'll be able to, I guess when you do actions, you use up a little bit of stamina for running or whatever. And maybe she'd be better for like a melee-esque build. I'm just assuming this because she is, of course, wearing a baseball bat with nails in her hands. So again, talking about, each cleaner representing a class, we've got kind of a medic-y now class, which is Mom. So she has 3 traits. The first one is instant revive. She also gives you +1 to your support inventory and also gives your team 1 additional life. Another Healy support S class is we have Doc. Ironically, she is, responsible for giving extra healing because her 3 traits are she heals low health teammates even without items, she's got improved healing efficiency, and also has team trauma resistance. And I suppose it's important that we tell you what trauma actually is. So trauma is this mechanic that the more you get hit, the lower your HP pool gets. So even if you get healed up, you actually have less health than you originally started with. Okay, next up we got another DPS class. This is Jim. He's got 3, so he's got precision kills, increased damage, +1 to ADS speed, and plus team weak spot damage. So he's got a big old sniper in his hand, so I'm guessing that he is kind of for those who want to do more long range-esque builds. And our last one, but not least, is Carly, and she's another support S class, so she senses hazards. I guess there are traps or something in the game. Has +1 to quick inventory and +1 to team use speed. So yeah, there you have it, a supporty S class. Oops, looks like I only did 7. There is an additional one, and this is Hoffman, who again is a support kind of aggressive character, and his 3 traits are: he spawn ammos with kills, he gives +1 offensive item slots, and also plus team ammo capacity. So yeah, so if you're a run and gun kind of team, then he may be the one you want to pick up. Anyway, this gives you a brief idea of kind of the model they're going for. As I previously said, I think we'll see more characters come out. We'll see more different traits, and we've also got kind of like similar-esque archetypes to the Holy Trinity of tank, healer, and DPS. Though I do note that there is currently only one tanky-esque class who seems to be Holly at the moment. So while we're on the cleaners, let's talk about the weapons. So you have 2 groups, there's primary and there's secondary. In the primary we have assault rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, light machine guns, sniper rifles, and in the secondary weapons we've got sidearms and assorted melee weapons. And going off in the same order once again, starting off in the assault rifles, we've got 3. So we've got the AK-47, which is fully automatic. We have the M16, which is a 3-round burst gun, and we also have the M4 carbine, which is fully automatic. In the submachine category, there is only one at the moment. This is a Uzi. It takes pistol and SMG ammo, and is also fully automatic. For those who love shotguns when taking on monsters, you have 2 to select from. The first is the 870 Express, which is a pump-action shotgun, and you also have the TAC-14, which is a pump-action shotgun as well. In the light machine category, we have only one, which is the RPK. This is fully automatic, and yeah, well, it's a light machine gun. You work out what it does. And last but not least, in the sniper rifle category, only have one again to choose from, which is the M1A, which is semi-automatic, and yeah, it's a sniper rifle. Interestingly enough, there are a huge array of secondary guns. So you have in the pistols, we have the 357 Magnum, you have the Beretta M9, you have a Glock 23, you have the Glock 23 Auto, the M1911, and also a Tech 9. And for those who really like a good melee weapon in their builds and bashing monsters with something a bit more kind of primordial, then we have a bat, we have a fire axe, there's also a hatchet, a knife, and also a machete. So there are a range of weapons to pick and choose from, and these get impacted by a card system, which we will go on later, and I'll explain the different types and how it works. Now, in terms of gun customization, there are attachments that you can put on these weapons to make them better. They can be bought from vendors, and they can also be found throughout the levels as you defeat the various enemies. There are 4 subgroups of attachments. There's optic attachments, there's barrel attachments, magazine attachments, and stock attachments. And just keeping in the same order, in the optics attachment you have a reflex sight, which basically gives you improved ADS. You have the ACOG, which gives you double magnification and also increases damage to weak spots. So interestingly, attachments actually do have additional bonuses to them. You've also got in the barrel attachments, you've got laser sight, which basically gives you increased hipfire accuracy. You've got the compensator, which reduces recoil, weapon spread, and the movement penalty when you move. And then you have these 2 barrel types. So you've got a bent barrel and a warped barrel. The bent barrel will give you increased maximum bullet spread, and the warped barrel increases the gun's recoil. So these actually don't sound all that great. They're actually negative perks, so I wonder how they fit into the system. If I find out, I will let you know. Okay, in the magazine attachments section, we have the following. So these just basically improve like various parts of the ammo capacity. So the extended mag increases your magazine size. We got the fast mag, which increases your reload speed. There's one called the AP ammo, which increases bullet penetration power. And you've got extended fast mag, which increases the magazine size and the reload speed, so a little bit better. And then there's the fast HP mag, which increases reload speed and bullet stumble, which I don't know if that's a gun thing. I'm from the UK, so I'm not sure. But yeah, bullet stumble. If you know, let me know in the comments. That would be actually really good. And last but not least, there's also the tactical stock, which decreases the time it takes for you to swap between your 2 different weapons. So we've talked about the cleaners, let's talk about the Ridden before we get on to the other features of the game. The Ridden basically are the enemy of the whole scenario. There are various types that we will be looking at, and basically these types are common Ridden, and then we also have special Ridden. And looking at the common ridden to start, so you just have ridden, and then there's armoured ridden, charred ridden, blight ridden, jogger swarm, runners, sprinters, and shambling ridden swarm. So these are just the ones that you're going to face that don't have special abilities per se. And in the special ridden, which I know everyone wants to hear about, we have tall boys, we have stingers, reekers, snitchers, and something called boss-like specials, which can be broken into the breaker, a hag, an ogre, a worm ridden, and a giant ridden. Okay, so let's start off with the tall boys. So basically they're big, long, ganglion things. They've got an arm that's overgrown, and they kind of use it as a heavy mace. There are 3 subcategories to this. There's a bruiser, there's an armoured tall boy, and there's also a crusher. The bruiser is just a bigger version of a tall boy, and there's nothing on the armoured tall boy at the moment, but when I find more details, I will let you know. But, you know, I'm not going to be Mr. Obvious here, but I'm guessing it's just a tall boy, just with some more cladding to him. The crusher, which belongs to the tall boy family, basically has a big old arm, but this arm you can reach out, you can grab the person, and then you can squeeze them, and it does damage over time apparently. I will just say there are a huge plethora of enemies in this, which is really, really cool, because I love the variety and the mix-up. And I mean, in Left 4 Dead, there were like 4. In this, there seems to be, there's more enemy types, and there are weapons, it feels like. But that is very understandable, and when we get into the PvP mode, I guess that will explain a little bit more, because you have kind of scenarios where it will be you playing the ridden versus the cleaners. So you do want a variety of tools that you can use, so A, you don't get bored, and B, you can use a variety of tactics and so on. Anyway, let's talk about the 2 different stinger types. So we've got a stalker. These have a variety of abilities. They melee you, but they have a leap attack, and they also have a pounce. Now, I'm not really sure what the difference between the 2 are. I guess pounce is like you pin them down, and leap is like a mobility thing. And then moving on to the Hocker, basically they have leap, but they have projectile ability. So they've got this projectile attack, and they've also got a harpoon attack, and it's the Hocker collects goo from their chest for a while and then throws it at a cleaner. This prevents the cleaner from moving and using their weapon and equipment, and furthermore, trapped target will lose health over time. So kind of like a bit of a stun, but I imagine the Hocker also gets stuck in place as well. And of course, not forgetting about the actual stinger herself. So it's like this weird 4-armed, 2-legged creature thing, kind of like a human spider. They've got a leap attack, and they also have a projectile where they spit things at you. But she doesn't have any special abilities, and they are for the 2 kind of subtypes, so the stalker and the Hocker that we talked about. Let's talk about some of the more heavy classes of the Ridden world, and the first one we have up is the Reeker, which sounds like it stinks a bit. Basically, the Reeker is this big, stinky zombie thing, and the idea is that you get in close as possible, and they have 2 functions. One, they melee you, and if you blow them up, they have something called a death explosion, which I guess is explosion and death for both you and the Reeker. So going into the cousin of the Reeker, we have the Exploder. So the main difference here is that you got the main melee attack as per usual. However, they have explosion at will. So this time, instead of just being on death, you can actually choose when you want to detonate, which I imagine, in PvP could be used with a well-timed kind of setup. So you have a Hocker, pin someone down, and then you use your Exploder to blow up on the cleaner. And last but not least, we have the Wretcher or Wretch. And these basically are similar to the Exploder and the Reeker, except in this instance, they've got death explosion, they've got melee attack, but they also have a vomit attack, which you spew over your opponent. This big bile-y acid thing that they spew out everywhere basically leaves acid on the floor, and this will then inflict environmental damage if you go onto it. So it kind of creates zoning territories if you want to pin people into corners or make them avoid different things, or would be effective against melee attackers, etc. Last but not least, we have the snitcher. So these basically sit around. If you go up and aggro them, they let off a huge, great scream. They're quite iconic in their looks because they've got a great big long neck, and they're basically like alarm systems in Back 4 Blood. So yeah, watch out for those if you don't want hordes, to suddenly run on in. And again, these guys don't have any kind of subclasses or special abilities as far as I can find out. They just have a scream that, summons loads of Ridden to you. So let's move on to the biggest and juiciest of the Ridden, and we'll start off with the Breaker. So basically these are big, huge armoured Ridden. They were the same thing as tanks basically. They take a ton of bullets to kill, and they just run around charging and causing all sorts of pummely disruption. So the next up is the Hag, which is kind of like this ultra evil oldish woman. Like, she looks like a naked old woman basically with tentacles coming out of her head. It's another special type. It's super powerful, and these ones basically, if they eat you, they will insta-kill you. And these can be identified by their very distinct mouthful of hands. So watch out for when they open their mouth and try and give you a handshake. We also have the Ogre Ridden. So you may have seen this from the original trailer that they put up. Basically, this is that giant super 30-foot tall Ridden that was ripping off the back of the fencing on the subway. And aside being huge and having a massive amount of health, you are able to grab cleaners and they'll, beat you up in bits and pieces. I don't really know much more about it, but being ginormous, I guess, is enough to warrant them being scary and boss-like. Now, somewhere in the team, I feel like they're secretly a fan of Tremors, because there's also a Worm Ridden, which looks iconically like one of the graboids from Tremors. But yeah, basically these are like super big worms that come out the ground, and I would presume that they eat you because, they look like they're big enough to swallow a small cow. And last but not least, and definitely not the smallest, we have the Giant Ridden. This has only been spotted so far in the Back 4 Blood trailer, but it's about the size of a small town, So I guess like the very, very end game boss, perhaps. Don't know too much about it, but probably will be a later into the story thing. And look forward to seeing what that is all about. But that's the Giant Ridden, and also our last Ridden that we will be talking about. Right, shall we go back and talk about some more of the cleaners, goodies and accessories? I just want to talk about the accessories, so these things like grenades, bits and pieces. They come in 3 types, so we have the offensive, we've got support, and we've got quick accessories, and they're also a special group for support and quick accessories. So we've got common and special, and offensive, support and quick, and these are the following. So in the offensive category, we have the traditional good old fun Molotov, which creates big flame zone. We got frag grenades, which basically blow up and do damage, and we've also got firecrackers, which will create noise and disruption and cause mobs to run to the area of the noise. And in terms of health and kits and all that kind of jazz, that's all classified under support. So you've got bandages, which basically give you a small amount of health. You've got pain meds, which kind of delay and give you a temporary health buffer. And then you've got medikits, which do the big, chunky, healing, major, serious damage recovery. So next we have the defibrillators in the quick accessory section. So these are like utility items. So this allows you to res dead players, and also allows you to quick revive people if they've been incapacitated. So instead of kind of like the manual just helping them get up, you can use this to get them quickly resurrected. There's also a toolkit where it allows you to instantly and silently open locks. Now, I don't know what is locked in the game that requires a kind of toolkit, or even a lock-picking system, but maybe stashes of loot or secret rooms, etc., that have challenging packs around them. I'm not sure. And then there is just the conventional ammo pack, which just basically gives you a load of ammo for whatever weapon you're using. Now, some of you will absolutely love the special accessories, because the special accessory is a M134 minigun, which allows you to just absolutely mow down enemies. And also there is an explosive which allows you to, create giant boom explosions, I guess. So maybe they're a special trigger moment, I don't know, or you just get them and you can set up huge explosions. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And just lastly, before we get on to the card system, so basically there's a mag carrier, a rifle ammo capacity increase, a sniper increase, and a shotgun increase. And basically all these upgrades do is allow you to have 10% increased ammo capacity. Where you get them, I'm not sure. But yeah, these are also an option too. So let's move on to one of the more interesting upgrades and systems that they've put into the game, and this is the card system. So basically the card system works similar to how roguelikes work, and the idea behind them is that no two runs are the same, and it allows you to do different experiences and rerun in more interesting ways, and allows people to basically craft custom decks and play the game you want to play it as. So in the game there are two types of cards. You've got corruption cards and you've also got active cards. And the corruption cards are basically picked by this guy called the Director. So if you've ever played RimWorld, the Director is very similar to the storytellers, and these storytellers were responsible for making ever-changing actions that meant that no two runs were the same. And this is what's happening with the Director. So the Director picks up these corruption cards and he's the one responsible for making sure that, no two runs are the same, harder fights in some areas or easier, mixing them up, putting different mob packs in, and just making things more exciting for when you go back and do another run. Now going back to our corruption cards, so these, apply different effects to the game, and these can impact everything from the ridden, the weather, and even adding additional dangers. I don't know if they actually impact the level. There's different obstacles you've got to go over, or bridges explode. I am assuming here, but they definitely change the ridden and they definitely impact the weather at the moment. And from what I understand of the corruption system, basically, for now, the cards directly relate to ridden themselves. So for example, you've got he can pick a card that's like the shambling ridden swarm, or spawns in runners and sprinters, and the weather system that I talked about. So there is only one system that I found so far, which is basically called gloom, and this makes a fog over the whole area. Maybe they put more in, I don't know yet. But I guess the gloom really impacts your visibility and you can't see the enemies running at you, and makes it, a bit more spooky and exciting. But yeah, long story short, they basically summon all the different special types. So that's what corruption cards currently are responsible for. I don't know if they actually make the ridden tougher. Like, is there a corruption card that gives them plus 20% HP, or you're only able to kill them if you shoot them in the head, for example? Maybe. The game currently is only in the alpha at the moment, so maybe that'll get implemented if there is additional feedback, for example. Anyway, that's the corruption cards. So let's talk about the active cards. So these are ones that give you kind of perks and bits and bobs. They are split into 4 categories. They're color coded. So you've got blue, red, green, and yellow. You've got blue, which is reflex, red, which is discipline, green, which is brawn, and yellow, which is the fortune. And you use these to basically get an advantage through the runs and, help you in some sort of way, and also make them different. And how it works is that the Director shuffles his mystical pack of cards. You get to choose. You get 3 cards given to you, and then you choose one of them that you want to keep. And there are 61 of these cards overall. I'm not going to go through all 61 of them, but I'll give you some random examples. So there's one called Cross Trainers, which gives you 10% stamina. There's one called Ridden Slayer, which gives 10% weak spot damage. There's also Smelling Salts, which gives you 25% revive, team stamina, which gives you more team stamina. There's ones that give you special weapons or starting weapons. For example, there's a Uzi one, which means you start off with the Uzi. And there's also one called Quick Kill, which basically gives you 30% accuracy but disables aim down sights. So that's quite interesting in the fact that gives you a perk but also changes options about the weapon as well. Overall, I will say, and not to criticize the game too early, they do just generally look like flat percentage increases to things. So they're not overly exciting yet, but yeah, they do add variety. For example, like you can get one called Mean Drunk, which is quite cool, which is gives you 75% more melee damage, but you get 50% less gun accuracy, and other funky stuff like that. So yeah, that is the roguelike element for this game. There are 18 reflex cards, 17 discipline, 13 brawn, and 13 fortune, and I do expect these to change a lot with feedback and, you know, additional ones being put in so people get different experiences and stuff. Like the things with like I almost imagined it to be like there was that Rogue Knight game, but basically, you know, you're the ancestor and you come back with like really weird and wacky like upgrades, and just makes the runs like completely bizarre. But maybe it's not fitting for this kind of game. But yeah, that's what I want to see. Just runs that are completely different to each other. Lastly, the very, very last thing that I want to touch on is just the PvP system quickly. So you have the option to do 4-player, but there's also an 8-player PvP option. In the 8-player PvP option, it's cleaners versus the Ridden. The opposing team will take on the option of the specials, so you know, stalkers and the stingers and the tall boys, etc., and it is your job to kill off the team as humanly fast as possible, and then it is the job of the cleaners to stay alive as long as possible, and the winner is who stays alive the longest. Now, from what I've seen of the video, the cleaners are in an ever shrinking zone, so you don't have to worry about people like getting into a really good spot and, you know, then just mowing you down consistently. There are options that forces them into, you know, forces them to move basically. Also, the Ridden have quite the variety of tools, so no doubt you can do some pretty funky combos. We may cover a video on this separately because there was an actual showcase video on this, but for now, yeah, just know that it is you versus Ridden. Person with the most time wins, and yeah, you move and have to like be shunted out the way. But it's cool that they are developing the PvP. This will add to the lifespan if it is actually fun and replayable. But yeah, let me know what you think. Did you play Left 4 Dead PvP? I did a few runs of it, but not consistently. So I'm interested to hear what you think. But yeah, that's the PvP. Anyway, that is a huge amount of news to digest. I hope it really helps you in making a decision whether or not you want to play the game or not. I will say that they have published recently an article saying that if your friends have a DLC, then you all get the DLC if you own the game. So I thought that was pretty cool of them. But yeah, there we have it. As much information as I could dig out. I'm sure there's more of it. Share it in the comments. But please all do stay healthy, safe, and yeah, good luck with your games, and speak to you soon.